Back to us in newsroom. Well, for economic news, the crude oil jumped to the highest price since 2008 and concerned that the death of Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden will spur retaliatory attacks and disrupts on the supplies. Oil climbed as much as 0.8% after dropping the most in almost 3 weeks in New York after President Barack Obama said U.S. forces killed bin Laden in a firefight yesterday in Pakistan. Stocks rose, pushing up the Standard & Poor's 500 index for the fifth day. Phil Flynn, Vice President of Research at PFG Best in Chicago, said the market realizes that with bin Laden out of the picture, the risk of a reprisal is high, so people don't want to celebrate too soon. Oil for June delivery rose 63 cents or 0.6% to $114.56 US a barrel at 11:31 a.m. on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Earlier, it touches $114.83 US, the highest level since September 22nd of 2008. The contract gained 6.8% last month and has risen 33% in the past year. The dollar fell 0.5% to $1.4886 US per euro, boosting the appeal of commodities as an alternative investment. It touched $1.4897 US, the lowest level since December 7, 2009. Risk increased earlier. Oil tumbled as much as 2.7% on the announcement that bin Laden was dead almost 10 years after September 11, 2001 attacks that he orchestrated. It is likely that the oil industry will see bin Laden death as marking a seminal shift in oil market security, and arguably there has been an incremental increase in security risks in the short term, the analyst said. Bin Laden's death is arguably less of a blow to Al-Qaeda than protests in the Middle East and North Africa. Oil has climbed 33% in London and 25% in New York this year as revolts that overthrew the governments in Tunisia and Egypt raised concerns that supplies from the Middle East would be disrupted as protests spread. Fighting between rebels and forces loyal to Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has shut 1.3 million barrels a day of output in a country that was Africa's third largest producer. Al-Qaeda and bin Laden encouraged attacks on the oil production and distribution facilities as a way to damage the economies of the U.S. and Europe. In February 2006, Saudi Arabian security guards foiled the group's attack on the Abqaiq oil processing center in Saudi Arabia, preventing disruption to exports from the facility, which handles 2/3 of the supply of the world's biggest producer.
According to Commerce Ministry, inflation rose by 4.4% in April year-on-year, or 1.38% over March. Yan Yong-Phuong-Rat, the permanent secretary of the Commerce Ministry, said the higher inflation is due to the rising prices of consumer goods such as eggs, pork, vegetables and fruit. These food items have skyrocketed due to recent flooding in many provinces. Besides, the government measures to control prices expire in March. Yet the Ministry of Commerce assured that the overall inflation rate would not be higher than 3.2 to 3.7% this year. The inflation rate from January to April averaged at 3.27%. Meanwhile, the core inflation excluding food and energy goes up to 7% in April.